Well Rooted is brought to you by Gerard and Associates CPAs. With locations throughout Los Angeles, Gerard and Associates has been guiding entrepreneurs and creatives towards realizing their dreams for over 20 years. Discover how they can support your vision at gerardcpa.com. Hey, it's Haneen, and I'm back with another episode of Well Rooted. Today, I am joined by the Knafeh Queens. I have Fatmah and Rheyanah here in the studio.
Hey guys.
Hey. We had a really fun conversation. We talked about entrepreneurship, we talked about Knafeh, and we talked about Palestinian identity. And stick around for the whole episode because we are hosting a giveaway. So make sure you're following Knafeh Queens on Instagram. Make sure you're following Well Rooted Pod, and stick around and look out for our post about this episode. And without further ado, here is Well Rooted. Hey, it's Haneen, and I'm back with another episode of Well Rooted. Today, I am joined by royalty. We have some royalty in the studio. I am joined by the one and only Knafeh Queen herself, Fatmah Muhammad, and her co-founder and daughter, Rheyanah. Thank you guys for coming all this way to sit down and speak with me today. This episode is a long time coming. You are someone who, when I initially even had the idea for the podcast, right away I was like, I need to have Fatmah on the show. This is the first time we actually speak face to face, but I could just tell from, well, we also have someone else in the studio today, a good friend of ours, and everything I've heard about you, even before the podcast and before I even followed you online, was just amazing. And so I was so excited to get to meet you in person and have you on the show now. Let's just get right into it. Talk to us about the process of starting Knafeh Queens and where that idea came from.
Yeah, well, this was a different style of interviewing, but yeah. So the way we started was, or I guess, do you want to start that part?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, I want to say we started around 2014, and it honestly just started as something that we did for fun out of our kitchen, and we just loved, baking knafe for our friends and family, and we never thought of it as something that would like go, viral, or something that we would be, catering and sharing with the world. But all of our friends and family always kind of knew that it would be something that would kind of take off, but we always just needed that extra push. You always need those friends and families to tell you. And I was actually one of those people too. I told my mom, I was like, we're always making it for our friends and family. We're always taking it to events. Why not get paid for it? And that was when we started, venturing out and taking it to parties and catering. And yeah, so I feel like that was the start of Knafeh Queens and how we.
So
I think for me, I'm gonna add more to
Yeah,
it,
go
and the
ahead.
most important part was, for me, I grew up in a very we grew up in Missouri, in a city called Independence, Missouri, and my parents, who are Palestinian, they're both of my parents are Palestinian. So I'm as Palestinian as you can get. They moved into their first home in Missouri, in a very white neighborhood, and we were not welcomed. We were welcomed with our home getting egged and my dad's car getting lit on fire. And I saw my mom, the way she was able to like bring our neighborhood together and begin to like open up to us through her desserts and through her bread, through all her homemade stuff. And I think fast forward when I got married and I had my kids, and I started seeing a lot of Islamophobic stuff on the news and, all of that stuff, I said, you know what? At the time, when Knafeh, she started to get into it, she started to dabble into it, and I learned Knafeh from my mother when I was 7. And it was like, for me, it was such a fun and exciting process. It wasn't, my siblings, when my mom would make it, they would watch but I was like, I would, they would maybe play outside while she was making it, and I would make sure I was there from the beginning to the end. And so it was very exciting for me. And but for me, it was like more of just how Knafeh reminded me of bringing community together. Because for me, Knafeh just, any memory I have of Knafeh, which I'm sure you do also, is just, unity and just laughter. And even when it was like brought to like Gaza, for instance, it was, in memory of that person, like, the sweetness of that person. Or so it was always something for me, like it just reminded me of something very beautiful and positive. And for me, I said, when Rheyanah learned how to make it, and my friends were like, dude, why don't you sell this? At first, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I'm not gonna sell Knafeh. I actually, I have a psychology degree. So I was like, why would I sell Knafeh? I just want to continue to make it for my friends. I would make it for like, all the family events, the aqiqahs, the birthday parties. But subhanAllah, I feel like when you set your intention for something and you want to bring about change and it's a positive change, God opens the door and makes it so easy. Because for me, as much as I wanted, I was telling myself, no, I don't want to sell this Knafeh. God had a bigger plan for me. He knew that my socializing, my gift in socializing, and I'm very extroverted, and just bringing people together from all walks of life, and doing it through Knafeh being the bridge, that brings people from all walks of life together. So actually our slogan is serving royal happiness and unity with every bite. And that's what I told my daughter, if we're going to start selling this, then this is going to be our purpose. And I want us to wake up excited, and every day, like, whose day are we going to make today? Like, how many people are we going to be able to turn from from being very Islamophobic? Like, I want everyone to love it, even Palestinians, even Middle Easterners. But for me, my main focus was for the people, bringing people together who didn't look like me, because they were the ones that, it was just like, I didn't like hearing on the news, like, Muslim women are oppressed and Muslim women are so backwards. I'm like, that is the opposite of who we are. We are strong, resilient, we're fierce, and we're such boss women.
Absolutely.
So for me, I was like, you know what? If Knafeh is going to allow me to do that, then let's go. And Knafeh Queens was born in 2018. And yeah.
And it's and it's kind of taken off since then, huh?
Oh my gosh, we wouldn't have imagined. I feel like Jihan, since she's there, I keep wanting to talk to Jihan.
Jihan is our friend, our mutual friend. Very good friends with Fatmah, very good friends with myself. And she just had to be here.
It's like I can't ignore her.
She's the friend I'm trying to avoid making eye contact with.
She came for the Knafeh. She's such a smart girl.
And Judge Saifa, they're the ones causing trouble.
But Jihan knew when we knew each other, I never had told her that I was gonna sell Knafeh one day. It wasn't, when people tell me, was that your dream to sell Knafeh? I was like, no. I was so passionate about Knafeh, and it was something that always brought so much joy. Anybody's house that I went to, I would be like, can I make you Knafeh? Can I make Knafeh? And, even when I moved to California, my aunt and uncle that I moved in with before my parents moved out here, they were like, you would always ask us, can I make you Knafeh? And that's how I just remember my mom showing her love. And I was like, you know what? I didn't realize that I was also doing that. It was extending my love through the Palestinian Knafeh. So,
and to your point earlier, you mentioned, we'll have Knafeh at Azaz, we have it at graduations. It's a very significant dessert in Palestinian culture, especially, but I think for all Arabs, but specifically for Palestinians. It's there in the good times, it's there in the bad times. So I'm glad you brought that up. I want to go back a little bit. Whenever you were talking about you really focus on bringing people together, especially people that don't know much about Islam, don't know or don't have a lot of experience with Muslims or with Arab. Are there any specific memories or moments that stick out to you since you began this journey in 2018 of someone that maybe didn't know a lot about our culture or about us as a people that are just sort of burned in your memory that stick out to you?
Yeah, I remember one of my first pie contests that I entered. There was a guy who was in line right ahead of me. He was like, he thought he was being funny. He said, "Oh, who dropped you off?" Assuming that I didn't drive. Again,
Right.
I was backwards, and he didn't realize that I was, super petty and funny. I was like, actually, I dropped off my husband and I came, and he literally, no words. Like, I just remember he was just like, literally, he turned around and that was it was like, for me, I always remember like my parents always fought hate with kindness. And it always worked. I never saw my parents, having drama in their life, and so I always like run away from drama, like not run away for it, but I just don't. I'm like, how do I not add fuel? How do I take away, put away the fire? And so for me, it's always through like, so I literally just me kind of educating him in a funny way. I thought that day I wanted to be funny, but sometimes I'm just like, I'll just say, that's actually not true. If you have any questions, please ask me. But anyways, I ended up winning first place at the pie contest for a Knafeh. And he ended up like, I saw him from like, kind of looking over like, oh man, like the girl that I kind of,
That oppressed woman beat me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, ended up winning. And so I went and I said, "Hey, would you like to try our pie?" And he had some and he apologized. He couldn't, like, he was so embarrassed.
You just know he dreams about that pie until this day.
Yeah,
He's never had it
literally.
That
since.
was, yeah.
Nothing can compare.
Yeah, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, if I was able to do that with one person and I could do that, and like this is before me actually starting my business. And I was just like, oh my God, it would be a dream of doing that at a larger scale,
Hmm.
having our story reach far and wide. And it's just amazing. Like even through doing podcasts like this, for me, my hopes of our story getting out there to, if someone out there is just thinking, oh my gosh, Palestinian women, they're so this and that. No, they'll see like, wow, these women are, very kind, they're loving, they're spreading, love, and they're uniting people through their dessert. That's the message that we want, out there for the world to hear.
Well, first of all, marketing it as a pie for a pie, like I don't know how I would classify it to non-Arabs.
So
That's
for
really smart.
me, the reason why I did that because they said, sorry, like your dessert wouldn't be entered as a pie. It has to be in a pie tin. So I
Mm.
went home. I was like, oh, I went and bought a pie tin. I never owned a pie tin. I've never made a pie in my life.
You're like, oh, they
And
want patty. They're gonna get a
yeah,
patty.
and no,
Right.
I said, you know what? Can my crust, my dessert crust, be the actual crust? And they said, yeah, it just has to be in a pie tin. And I said, oh, that's easy, So
Mhm.
sure enough, I put it in a pie tin, and the judges went crazy. They were like, and with Knafeh, it's not like, a lot of the pies that were entered were so like, visually
Like
so
intricate.
beautiful,
Yeah.
very intricate, like the apple pies and all the different pies. And they didn't know what to expect. I had like a cute like pistachio design.
Hmm.
I had little rosebuds, but still like
It didn't look
it's
like the
not,
best out of
yeah,
everyone's.
so when they took a bite out of the Knafeh, I knew we won just from like their reactions of
Yeah.
like it was like the best reaction ever.
It's not like any other dessert. I mean, it's the perfect combination of like cheesy and crunchy, and
Hmm.
And
there's nothing else like
sweet,
it. And if you've never
savory,
had
yeah.
it, you're missing out.
And by the way, this is an important part that you bring this up, the pie. I didn't realize, again, for me, I bring up God in this because it's like literally God is, to me, like I tell people, I pray and I tell God to guide me, and He always shows me the way. And for me, I believe that that happened to me, and the way I entered the contest, that was supposed to happen because, believe it or not, a lot of people, like, I'll get a lot of Caucasian customers. They're like, oh, I love pie. So like the fact that it's called a Knafeh pie, they're like, oh, like it
It
feels
makes
like
it
home
makes
for
it
them.
relatable.
We
Yeah.
can,
But then,
yeah,
like, they're
exactly.
like, what is Knafeh? So that's like a way for me to bridge art, like showing like an East meets West, like how we're much more alike than different,
Hmm.
and it always just brings up beautiful dialogue, and just it's always so beautiful.
No, I think that's really smart. Okay, let's backtrack a little bit. At what point, or what was the first thing you did? You helped her come to the realization that this should be a business. We should
Yeah.
be like making money off of this. It's amazing. What was the first initial steps that you take to start the business?
Oh man, so I was not we were not the typical business owners, like where, and I'm not gonna lie, and I think I don't mind sharing this part because a lot of people expect perfection when you
Mm.
start a business.
And that's the last thing you're gonna get when you're starting out. And in
Yeah.
fact, like the more mistakes you make is how you achieve perfection and success. I mean, there's no, perfect idea of what perfection looks like in a business. It's honestly just like setting a goal and knowing what you want to execute. And I feel like we've been able to achieve that.
Yeah, like we didn't have our website
Yeah,
for at
no.
least 2 years. I was literally taking orders through Instagram, DM, through emails. I was writing down every order. But I loved that process. I loved it, allowed me to get to know like my customers. I call them the Knafeh Queens family because they're all like family to me. And
Yeah, she invites them in our home when they come to
oh
pick up.
yeah, sometimes like
Yeah.
I would invite
Rheyanah's
them.
like, "Please
Yeah.
stop."
This one's like
Like,
very
I'll be in my
overprotective.
room and I'll be like, oh, come in. And they're just like, no. Oh, we've had like multiple customers join us for dinner. Like, and I'm just like, okay, mom, look,
Yeah,
let me
we'll
put you
get,
on
we'll get
plate.
dinner and dessert. I mean,
Exactly,
where
wallah.
else can you find
Yeah,
that?
and but for me it was like a lot of people think they have to have the perfect plan, the perfect website, the perfect, logo. We had literally, we just said let's start, and with that, again, like she said, the stuff that we did, I'll never forget the first pie that I shipped out. My customer sent me a picture of it, and it was so embarrassing. I was like, I am so sorry. But I took that picture and I said, you know what? How can I improve that for it to not, be so like,
Yeah, to make sure that customer never receives something like that again.
But that's a really
Yeah.
important lesson to all aspiring entrepreneurs. No one is like perfect. Even really experienced CEOs and entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
like they're still learning. Everyone is still learning.
exactly.
And how else will you learn if you're not actually doing it? Like
Yeah.
getting started is more important than having it perfect, right?
100%.
By the way, that customer is one of my like top customers now because she appreciated, and I think a lot of it really has to do with like how you treat your customer and like, what you're putting out, the energy you're putting out, because she was like so fine with it being like, for me, I felt so bad, and I like reached out to her, I called her and I said, I'm sorry, like I'm gonna ship you another one, it'll be, and she was like, oh my gosh, like and in fact I shipped her another pie, but she sent me a video that her and her mom managed to like, because what happened is when I first shipped it, I put it in a Ziploc bag in like this metal tray that like, and when she got it, it was like the one pie had turned into like, it was just
It
like,
like kind of like
it all
yeah.
slid
slid
down
down.
to one side. She
Yeah.
was like, this was the best Knafeh we've ever had. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, so then if I can just figure out a way of it to not, and that's when we learned about vacuum sealing and all like, the professional ways of how, so So, you know, I tell you these stories because, you know, whoever's listening, I want you to know that it's okay to start and not have a perfect plan. Just start, and I promise it'll all come together, you know? And we've been enjoying this process. My kids have been able to see like how we pivot and how we, you know, learn from our mistakes and not, you know, don't panic. Don't ever panic. It does nothing. If anything, it sets you back, and just always say, okay, like, what can we learn from this mistake? And so,
I mean,
yeah.
I heard a phrase the other day of something like, you survived 100 of your hardest days already. Like those
Hmm.
100 days of hardship, you already survived them. So like you're just learning from it, and you learn from those
Exactly.
days and you move on. But so many people need to hear that, because there are so many people who have amazing ideas and they're trying to have everything perfect. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media too, and how fast
Exactly.
things move these days.
Yeah.
They're seeing things that are perfect on screen, perfect online,
Yeah.
or what they perceive to
Yeah.
be perfect, and they feel like they need to compete with that. And it's like, no, just get started. Like
Yeah.
that's better than not even starting at
No,
all.
I've had so many girls reach out to us and like, oh my gosh, like I've always dreamt of starting you know, a business, and I always thought it was just out of my league and I would never be able to do it. And you showing up organically with who you are, like you're literally the same person. I don't put on a facade. You know, some people feel like when they go on Instagram or wherever, you know, when they're doing a video, it's like, who are you? Like, I don't even
Hmm.
know. It's so sad. And I'm talking to those people who do this. There's so many people who I've met online. When I meet them in person, they are nothing what they show us who they are online. Like, you know, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And for me, I want to be who I share online with everyone. I want to be an even better in person. Like, I want to be that much better in person, you know? So I always put, you know, so I just always tell people, be proud of who you are. I feel like, and a lot of girls are like, "Oh my gosh, I have like a Knafeh idea. Like I want to start a Knafeh business." And they'll tell me like they want my slogan, and I'm like, "No, be authentic."
Yeah, yeah.
There's beauty in authenticity and like originality. Like for me, I'm pretty sure that's why people love our Knafehs, because we have like such a like, you know,
You have, okay, so marketing is exceptional. And I think that has a lot to do with you, because you are like the face of the brand. And yes, you are very authentic and you're very genuine. I mean, we spoke on the phone months ago, and even over the phone, I was
oh.
like, she's so warm. Like, she's so generous with her time. And I think you were actually cooking while you were talking to me and still giving
That
me
sounds
so much
right.
over the phone. I was like, wow, like, what a generous person to like give that time to me. But your marketing is exceptional, because it's you, and you are eccentric, you are outgoing, you are very warm and welcoming. Another thing that you do really well is your branding. And
Mm.
Knafeh Queens is a great name. Whose idea was that?
Oh, there was so much trial and error for the
With the
names.
name
I
too.
mean, we had so many names before we came up with
Did
Knafeh
you get
Queens.
the list of names? I sent out like a list. We had like, my husband's funny. He had one of the names my husband wanted. Was my husband's African American, for those people watching. So this Knafeh princess is half black, half Palestinian, but he was like, "Oh, Afro-Stinian Knafeh," or like,
Yeah.
and there was a list of names, and I sent it out to like a lot of people, and I said, and everyone didn't know I was sending it out. So, because I wanted it to be very like, you know, I
Like
want
very
people to have
organic.
like
Yeah.
very organic answers, and I didn't want anyone to have any influence from each other. So
Hmm.
I said, I'm trying to think of Knafeh, you know, like business names. What should, like, which one of these, or if you can think of one, a better one, let me know. And I swear to you, like, I would say 99% would respond, you're the Knafeh queen. And I'm like, no, like, I want something. Knafeh queen is just, it's, you know, I don't want to be the Knafeh queen. Like, that just sounds, I don't know. I just want something more. It wasn't supposed to be Knafeh Queen, subhanAllah. And then I was like, you know what? It started to grow on me because
Mhm.
everyone was like,
It's catchy
Knafeh
too.
Queen.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
memorable.
Exactly.
And so we have the crown. My friend, designed my crown, and I told her, and if what my slogan says, serving royal happiness and unity. So I added I was like, if I'm gonna be called something that's royalty, I want to share it with everyone. So I want everyone to know that they are royalty in their own way. So, and that's kind of how I was able to accept being called the Knafeh Queen. I'm like, okay, so if I'm at events, I forgot my crown because it's in my other car, that's getting fixed. But but anyways, typically when I wear my crown, I take it off and I have other kids wear it. I have other moms wear it, and I want them to know that they are all very special and unique in their own way, and you don't have to be like anyone else because everyone has so much beauty and talent in them. They just have to find it and accept it. You know, a lot of people these days I feel like are so, what's the word? You know, they're just not
Guarded. Like,
very guarded and just no confidence in themselves. And like when I compliment someone, they're like, really? And I'm like, I can't believe they didn't know this about themselves, you know? And like someone's so talented,
yeah.
like I'll see their art and I'm like, that was beautiful. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes, like believe it and accept it, take that compliment,
It's really
you know.
hard for a lot of women in particular to accept compliments. I and I think also confidence comes from trying and messing up. So when you try and
Mhm.
you mess up, you build confidence because you've already kind of fucked up. Like, you know, you just and then you're trying
That's
again
true.
Yeah.
and you just learn to be better. Just like the first knafa you shipped out. Like that actually is probably one of the best things that happened to
It
you.
was literally one of the best things, and that's why I shared this example. And even like when customers would pick up, I would literally give their orders and I don't know, whatever tin that I had available. And I'm proud of that because
Mhm.
again, I was like, you know, for me it's not the logo, it's not these things that we think is the most important. It's the message and it's the product. As long as your product is good, people don't care what. You could put it in a box, you could put it in your, whatever. It's
But
people, yeah.
sorry to cut you off, but the cohesive branding is really smart. And that's what helps the business grow as well. Because even down to the tiara, down to your pink, and then even, so this is a funny story. So whenever I first saw your royalty bars online,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that Dubai chocolate was a thing. Like I thought you created that.
Oh!
And then whenever and I continued to believe that for like a good 2 weeks.
I love
And then when I saw like the
Mine
actual
are the
OG like
best.
Dubai bar, I was like, oh my God, they copied Knafeh Queen. Like how embarrassing for them. I had no idea like that wasn't
I
your
love that.
thing. But again, but everyone calls it like a pistachio bar, Knafeh bar, Dubai chocolate. You're the only person that kind of rebranded it to be your own bar.
The royalty bar.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with ours, we use like fresh everything. The ingredients are so premium. Every person that we hire to make it, my executive pastry chef is one of my aunts who I admire her cooking and her baking skills. So for me, like even when it comes to like that process, I'm so picky, like, and I want to make sure that they make it with tons of love. Because for me, I feel like that's our biggest secret ingredient is the love that we put into every single product. And so I do feel like everyone, I've had a lot of like foodies, food bloggers that try every single person's product and then they kind of like say, oh, like this person's was the best. And every single food blogger that's had mine is like, Fatmah, hands down, yours, like now I know just to order from you. And so, and a lot of people who have like tried, we're sold out most days. We're like sold out by like 12 p.m. If you don't pre-order, it's like good luck. And
That's,
so I tell people it's just so good. Like every bite is pure deliciousness.
I mean, you're a hot commodity right now. You're in demand.
Mm.
Everyone wants to try your knafe. I mean, you
good.
have the Hadids reaching out to you. You have
Alhamdulillah.
Dua Lipa. You have so many people that really like prize your knafe. Can you kind of share with us how that came to be? Like how your knafe got in the hands of the Hadids and so forth?
The funny thing is, I always vowed I would never like spend money on marketing or like PR and all of that stuff. And I always wanted things to be organic. So every single person that has like ever had laid their fingers on it was through word of mouth. It's through like recently, just yesterday, it was so random. We had a customer from LA. I don't know if I could say his name. Well, I won't
You can say
share
his
his
name.
name, but I'll share. But he came and picked up. Me and Rheyanah catered a holiday party for them, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, everyone that had it." I guess there were some like big names that were like present and that worked. There was a lot of like producers and directors, and so, anyways, he was like, "Oh my gosh, like all these like big celebrities," and apparently Harry Styles just had our bar, and he's obsessed.
Okay, co-signed by Harry Styles. No big
I
deal.
know. And we've heard just so many different, and it's been like for us, that's the most exciting part. I tell people when you believe in something and you're like so intentional and like purposeful, it's just
It's bound to work
it's
out.
bound to work out,
yeah.
and if it doesn't, be patient. Like everyone's success comes in different ways. Like not everyone's my phone keeps vibrating. Sorry, here, can you?
And
I'm
the,
gonna
and the
pass
phone
it.
is pink and sparkly as
I
well.
know, look how cute.
Cohesive branding.
But no, honestly, backtracking to what you guys were saying, I feel like authenticity has a big part in that too. I think when people can just feel the authenticity, it makes them more inclined to want to work with you. And anyone that knows my mom loves, like, always falls in love with her personality, and I think that's just a big part of why we end up.
And you.
Yeah, and me. But
I mean, hold on a minute. You recorded a song with Macklemore, right? You're also you are an entrepreneur as well as a very
Such a
talented
humble
singer.
girl.
Yeah, I was very privileged to be a part of the choir in the Macklemore song. Yeah, that was a
Okay, talk
very
to us
big
about
deal.
that really quick. How did you get that involved?
Yeah, so I'm part of a choir called Motani Choir. It's a Palestinian run choir in the IE, LA, OC, like everywhere. And I joined it about a year ago, I want to say. And through my mom's connections, of course, she knew the producers and
yeah, one of his team members reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, Macklemore is looking for Palestinian kid singers to be a part of the song that he's doing." And I was like, "Oh, like I know this choir," and I wasn't thinking of my kids because I'm thinking Macklemore. She's probably gonna think I'm so mean because I'm thinking like they want,
the
like
best of the best.
I'm not one of those moms.
Child singers.
There's
Yeah,
some
yeah.
moms that are like, my kids are the best and everything. And I'm like, for me, like I'm so proud of my kids. They're amazing. And her voice to me is so angelic, but I wanted to give the opportunity to someone else. You know what I mean? And they heard her voice. They're like, we want her. Like they want, and then
I earned it.
she
Yes.
owned it. And, but yeah, it was like such a small world. So then I connected them to one of the people who was involved in the choir. And they were like, okay, send everyone's videos. And then, so we sent all the, videos to them. And then next thing you know, they're like, okay, meet us at the studio on this day to meet Macklemore. I couldn't tell them.
No big deal.
No big deal.
They didn't know. By the way, they couldn't know at the time that it was. I knew it was going to be with Macklemore.
The kids didn't know?
Yes, because
Ay.
they didn't want the kids that didn't like to sing join just to be a part of a song with Macklemore.
Okay. That's smart.
So they were excited when he came out.
Wait, so you had no idea?
So
She
I
knew
knew.
the older one, the
Yeah.
younger one.
I
Okay,
knew
okay.
that we were gonna go record with Macklemore, and yeah, it was so exciting. And like honestly, for me, like I don't get starstruck because, like, you know, we're all human, but I think like it's just
No
like
one's that great.
it's just nice to meet someone that has such a big platform that's very vocal about like social justice issues, and especially Palestine, that is so close to my heart. And I
Mm.
think that makes me respect him so much more, and which is why it was so special for me to meet him and to be a part of something so special that he released. Um, so yeah, it was definitely a surreal like moment when we were in the studio, and
The
yeah,
nicest. I
he's
mean,
so down to earth, like just so
his
humble.
humbleness and
Yeah.
I
warmth
mean, it
is
just makes you feel really good to support an artist who is
absolutely.
as equally a good person as he is talented. You
Yeah,
can
Exactly.
just
yeah.
wholeheartedly like invest into their art and into their music, and we don't have a lot of that right now.
We
No.
don't. It's so hard to know who's truly genuine about like where they stand on these kinds of issues, and it's just nice to have transparency and to know
Mm.
where someone's heart really lies, and especially with someone that like their career is literally on the line for
Yeah.
it. And like
That's true.
we see a lot of people just using that as an excuse to not talk about a genocide, and when like that is not an excuse whatsoever. And like Macklemore is one of those artists that showed that. So
Yeah, he risks it all for like, you know, the oppressed and, you know, people suffering around the world. And he doesn't only speak about Palestine, but I've seen him talk about Sudan and
Hmm.
Congo
He
and
canceled a
Yemen.
concert in Dubai.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just incredible. So I do agree with her. People say, how do you act around the stars that you guys cater to? And I'm not the type that doesn't excite me. It's what you do, and what you do for the community and for the world to make a difference. That's what excites me. Like even when we catered for Dua Lipa, I didn't know who she was until she was like, "Mama, this is her song," and
She was like, okay,
To play the song for
I think he's
her.
dating Dua Lipa or something.
yeah,
And
and
like 12-year-old me was like,
she goes, Dua
Hyperventilating.
Lipa. She was
literally.
like so excited, but also I think a lot of our star clients love that about us, that we're just so like we
Like
treat
you're
them
like
like
family.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they'll literally be like, "Hey, we're gonna go outside. Why don't you guys hang out? If you want to open the fridge," and I'm like, "You just met us. You trust
Yeah.
us in your house." Like, and like I love that we become family. Like I said, with anybody, not just the stars, with everyone. They really like when they see me, they get like so excited, like we're family, and you know. But yeah,
I mean, and that's a really, you really are kind of bridging communities the way that you even knew the producer and you knew, like, you were able to sort
yeah,
of
it's
help put
so
that all together.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, I think everything the way it happens, it's always just like in the most weird ways. Like I think it's weird, but it's like no, like the way it was orchestrated was for a reason, and it was so beautiful. Those kids, like you should have seen the reaction of the little kids, and like they're forever changed to know that like, you know, and then now they're friends, and like all the kids that were able to see, like he was able to put Palestinian kids who maybe didn't see themselves as important, like no, we are important. So I love that people like Macklemore are raising the voices of Palestinians and raising the voices of the people of Sudan, and you know all of those who are struggling. So yeah.
No, it's really heartwarming to see. That song is amazing too, by the
Yeah.
way.
It is
I listen to it
such a powerful song.
quite often
Yeah.
when I need a good cry.
Aw.
But how has this past year and a half, I don't want to say genocide, I'll say a live stream genocide, how has
Mm.
that
Yeah.
affected you both while you are also you're running a company that is essentially Palestinian in itself, but also through you both as Palestinian women. How has it affected you? How have you been able to sort of cope with what's all going on while also maintaining this?
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle. It's never easy to see anyone go through a live stream genocide, but especially when it's your own people. Um, and to just, and you know, not only the people in Gaza, but people in our villages were affected. You know, people from that we, you know, we know like were murdered, and so
Hmm.
it's just like if anything, I feel like it gave our business even more important. Like it gave us more meaning, and it gave us more drive, because I feel like it just makes you want to do more for your community. That's never a moment to take a step back and to say that this is not my fight. This is not, you know, if anything, you are obliged to say something. That is our duty, and especially as a business, as like our slogan, what we, promote, if that was like our number one duty to, to explain to people what's going on, because, and we didn't even know that we had like so many Jewish clients, so many Jewish customers until October 7th rolled around. And it was just like so interesting to see like everybody's opinions and like what they thought. And, some people were very like, open to it and actually wanted to learn about what was going on in Palestine. And we lost some customers, and
Good
Bye.
riddance.
good riddance. Yeah. I didn't want your money anyways, stolen
Yeah.
money. So like honestly, yeah, it was definitely eye-opening. And
I
yeah.
agree with her. No, that was beautifully said. I feel like seeing what we see like on live TV, it just gave me that much more energy to like do more. I'm like, okay, what I did last year was not enough for the business and showing who, as Palestinians, who we are. I'm gonna do that. Like she was putting on protests almost every single week. We were like, just for us, we were just like, and a lot of people were like, no, don't share it on your, on Knafeh Queens. You guys
Right.
are a dessert business. I'm like, no, we will share it on. I do not care. Like, if we're gonna lose some followers, which we did, we lost hundreds and hundreds of followers. I'm like, goodbye. I do not want those followers. I want
Mhm.
people who are compassionate, who are loving, regardless of your race or ethnicity, and it's not fair that those kids and parents and families have to die because of who they are, because they're Palestinian. Like they should not, so for me, I felt like, no, I have this many followers. It's my responsibility to share their stories and amplify them through Knafeh Queens. And so um it wasn't, a lot of those I got, but then we just saw so much more love. The amount of people who reach out to us daily, like, how are you guys, how are you coping, and what can we do? Like, I've had so many non-Arab and non-Muslim customers who are like, Fatma, please, like, tell us what. And in fact, the week she wasn't doing a protest, I would get hundreds of messages. Oh my God,
Yeah.
why didn't you post about a protest? And I'm like, oh wow, like, Rheyanah, it's incredible. Like she was so young at the time. Like her first protest for Palestine, you were what, 12?
I think the first protest I ever did was for Black Lives Matter. It was like,
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
Black Lives Matter.
And then that one was a really good turnout. And then and then the second one that we did was for Palestine, and it was so crazy. I think it was in like 2016, and it's just so crazy how we're still chanting and fighting for the same exact rights that we were fighting
I mean,
for
since
so many years
since I
ago.
was, I'm sure since you were little as well,
Exactly.
like
For
we've been
sure.
protesting.
Exactly.
For
But
sure.
it's obviously on a much larger scale now, and it's not
Yes.
just us standing
It
up
makes
there.
you feel like so much
And
more
it's
powerful.
not only us that's chanting and that's
Mhm.
protesting. I swear, every protest that I show up to that she hosts, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Asians and whites and
Everybody,
Africans.
yeah.
Everyone is standing. Everyone. I feel like we are almost there.
We're
Like we're,
almost there.
and I
Inshallah,
feel
yeah.
it. I feel it in my bones and
Yeah.
and inshallah.
And you guys are gonna make us knafe whenever
Yes.
we get
Exactly.
there,
Oh my
right?
God.
Yeah.
Everyone
We're gonna
gets
sell-
free Knafeh.
We can't wait.
The day we
Inshallah.
get the news that
Oh,
Palestine is free, wallahi, this is like, I'm making this
Knafeh
promise.
party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A huge Knafeh party. And, it's the time has to come soon. And our people have struggled so much. And I don't, I just do not want to see them endure any more pain. Like, and, but honestly, I do feel like we have no excuse when we watch them. I mean, you saw the ones who are moving back up north
It's
from the south. They're
it's
just
very bittersweet. I mean, it's really beautiful to
they're
see.
doing it with a smile. They're saying we're gonna rebuild. They're not complaining like we lost this. They're literally just focusing on how they're gonna rebuild. And I'm like, what is our excuse? We are sitting comfortably here. We have roof over our head. What is our excuse for not speaking up? What is
Mm-hmm.
our reason? Like they for speaking up there, like they can have a bullet through their like so much,
Mm-hmm.
but for us, what's our excuse? You know what I mean? We have no excuse. So I urge all of you listening, you can, whether it's protesting, whether it's, I guess she's really good at this. Like, how can people get more involved and active?
Oh, I could say a lot about that. I mean, the police knew my name, so
Yeah.
like they would come to the protest with like documents, and they'd be like, "Oh,
Wow.
where's Rheyanah?" And I'd be like, "That's me over
Yeah.
here." And
Yeah.
like we would have conversations with them, and like it was just honestly, I think just you have to take the initiative. It sucks that you have to be the spokesperson to your own people's genocide and your own people's hurt, but if you don't do it, nobody else is going to. So, I think just taking the initiative, you have to start somewhere, no matter how afraid you are. I mean, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lie. My first protest, I was like literally just shaking because you're out there, literally
Yeah.
out in the open, just chanting for your people's rights, and it's like, and so I think you just have to start. And I think because I have that fire in my heart, it's all starts with that like that ignition. You just have to be so like dedicated and so passionate about about the cause that you're fighting for, that like all that embarrassment, all that like that fear inside of you just disappears. The second I start
Mhm.
chanting on that megaphone, everything just disappears. The fear, the embarrassment, the
Mm.
nervousness, like it's not even a thought in my mind anymore, because I know that there's something bigger than me, and my fears that I have to speak up for. So
Yeah. And she's inspired so many little kids. Like my younger daughter, I think she was like 9. She's like, "Mama, I want to put on a protest."
Oh,
My
wow.
girl, like, let your sister lead. And
and she did. She
she
did.
did. She literally put together a
Oh,
protest. She
wow.
put she
Yeah.
put together she
She
sent
made the
out she
flyer
made a
and yeah.
flyer.
Oh, wow. That's
She's like,
so
send it
cute.
out to all your groups, Mama. I go, Mama, what? Like,
Just like put this on your
but
socials.
I was just like, I honestly, if like a 9-year-old can do it, I see 6-year-olds out there chanting, 2-year-olds. We have no excuse, you guys. I think it's time to like stop making those excuses and just start acting. And
Decolonize your brain, as they
Exactly.
say.
But
exactly.
also a lot of people, it's interesting, like with the state of the world, there's always so much going on. But it's so interesting to see like, how people pick and choose the struggles that they want to support. Like they'll be very silent about what's happening in Palestine, but the second it's their own people, then they're very vocal.
Are you speaking
And
about
it's
someone
just,
specific
it's just
that
like,
posted a
Yes.
really embarrassing crying video like a couple of days ago?
exactly.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Exactly. And it's just like,
Selena
and
Gomez,
it
that
was
was
just like, where was
embarrassing.
that sympathy?
That's very embarrassing.
First of all,
Yeah.
embarrassing video. Second of all, where was your crying video when thousands of kids were being murdered
Yeah.
and stuck under rubble and you weren't saying anything, and it was being televised on top of that? It's just the ignorance
Yeah.
and the selfishness is crazy to me, and it's just like,
And
yeah.
forget about the money. People, I've lost
I
the
mean,
biggest contracts because, I didn't realize that they were like Zionist customers. Because, you don't know
you
if
don't
there's
know,
someone's
especially
name,
here. You don't
but they'll
know.
be
Yeah.
like, oh, can you not, tell people you're Palestinian? I'm like, oh,
Absolutely
bye.
not.
Like, I mean, thousands, like they offer big time, like money for some of these events. And I'm like,
No
no,
amount
like
of money is worth.
for me, like when people say, oh, I'll lose this, I'm like, your risk is written. It's written. So whether you do it or not, like, and if anything, God's gonna open more doors for you when stand up for the oppressed. Like God promises you that. Where is your like tawakkal?
Your trust,
your
yeah.
trust in God. That no, like I know if I do the right thing, God's gonna take care of me. I
100%.
promise you. And I do feel like so many more better doors have opened for us. Every time I've said no for something that I'm like, okay, this is really, definitely doesn't align with our business principles. something so much. I'm like, whoa, Rheyanah, you won't believe, like,
The
you know,
opportunity
the
that we just got,
opportunity
yeah.
that just, you know, so
Yeah.
It always works out as long as you're doing the right thing and you're listening to your intuition.
yes.
And the amazing thing about Palestinians, we're the most resilient people on the face of this planet.
Yep.
And no one more than
No
the
doubt.
Palestinians living in Palestine, of
No
course.
doubt.
And everything that you guys are doing, this Knafeh itself, it's a resistance. This is a form of resistance.
It
Knafeh
is,
Queens is a
100%.
form of resistance.
It sure
And the fact
is.
that you're able to educate so many and really just bring something that we as Palestinians like prize and value Knafeh so much. I mean, it's just part of who we are.
Yeah.
And to be able to spread that to everyone is such a beautiful thing. I want to wrap up really quick
Yeah.
because this episode is going to air during Ramadan.
Hey.
And it's going to air the day before Mother's Day. Arabi
Oh
Mother's
my
Day.
goodness.
God, how
So-
exciting.
so
Happy Mother's
Happy
Day
Mother's
for those
Day,
Yeah, happy
everyone.
Mother's
who are
Yeah.
listening. Mwah.
Especially all the Palestinian mothers, right?
Yes,
Like, we
to
were thinking
all
of
the
you all.
Palestinian
We love you all.
mothers.
But
Yes.
really quick before we wrap,
Yeah.
Rheyanah, if you could just share one thing that you've learned about your mom growing this business together, what's that one thing that you want to share with us today?
I don't know. I feel like, mashallah, my mom's an amazing person, but I feel like her selflessness is probably one of the most admirable things about her. It's like I see her doing things like, and I take it as a learning like thing every single day. Like every time I do something in my head, I'm like, what would my mom do in this situation?
Mhm.
Because I feel like she just has the best approach to things in life, and just the way she like handles life, the way it's just she takes everything with a grain of salt, you know? Like nothing is ever that, you know, like no task is ever that difficult, and nothing's ever that, you know, harsh. Even if I feel like my world is ending, I know I can always rely on her to like center me back to earth. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like that the one thing I want to say I learned about my mom is she's very, very selfless, always giving her time to others, and I'm usually the one telling her like, Mama, like no, like don't do that for other people, like
yeah,
you know,
but
like they don't
she's
deserve
learned
that.
That's where my joy comes, is giving back to others.
And for
so,
me, it's just like, but the thing is, a lot of people do take advantage of people's kindness, and I don't like to see that.
Of
And it's
course.
just like you
but
have
I'm
to
like,
be.
that's between them and God, you know? Like, if they're taking advantage, sorry
Usually
for them.
it's the other way
Not
around.
for me.
It's-
Like, for me, I'm doing it out of love and, you know, reciprocating, you know, what I think is like them reaching out because, you know, they're whatever,
course.
you know, but she does. I do feel like it's a blessing. Sometimes she's like, Mama, like, where were they 5 years ago? Or where were they 8 years
Right.
ago?
Yeah,
And-
because you have to realize who's genuine and who's just there for a photo or, you know. And so like I
But
always
I
tell
love
her.
pictures.
Well, okay, you kind of need her to. You know,
No,
like,
she
that
does.
was-
I'm telling you. Like my
So for those who take advantage, she has an eye on you.
Oh
Rheyanah,
yeah.
okay, really quick, Fatma, what's one thing you've learned about Rheyanah throughout this process?
Oh man, I've learned a
As if-
lot. Do we have time? How
We
much
don't have,
time?
we have like
Honestly,
A minute.
Rheyanah, she is a very, just such a, what's that word? Anybody that's around her is like falls in love with her. She has such a warmth, but yet strong. She's, you know, caring. She's so passionate. And I think it's beautiful because I do always feel like she will see, because I see good in everyone and everything, and she'll be like, she has such a positive outlook in life and everything, but when she sees something wrong, she'll be like, Mama, no, like that was not okay what that person just did. And so I feel like it takes a lot of maturity and wise, like I'm just so beautiful. It's been so beautiful seeing her flourish, you know, because when this became like a vision, she was 10 years old. And so just to see her blossom the way she has, and you know, she's just so classy and elegant, well spoken. You know, I always give her the hard answers for a reason.
I'm the spokesperson.
She's my spokesperson. But yeah, no, she's just
But yeah, we're besties.
Yeah, we're besties.
Yeah, I love
I'm
that.
so proud of her. Honestly,
That's the best relationship, honestly.
Yeah.
Like the mother-daughter relationship is irreplaceable.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah. 100%.
5 years from now, if we were to do this again, what would you be working on? If I were to ask you, what do you guys have going
We're
on?
hoping that we could talk about one of our locations that we have. You know, we
One of our
do
multiple locations.
Yeah, we
There
do
you
want to
go.
open our
Yes.
first brick and mortar, hopefully in
Inshallah.
the in the near future. So, and then just I think scale, have our own where we actually produce kanafa for, and we're shipping out of the country, because right now we ship to all 50 states, but we haven't shipped out of the. We've shipped like here and there to whoever's willing to pay $100 for shipping to London.
Wow.
But I
And
want to be
people
able
do.
to, and people do, but I want to, we do want to get it to other countries, so yeah, so we're just excited. We recently went to Qatar and we did an event there and everyone loved it. We did an event in Dubai and it was a massive hit there. And so we do feel like this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
It feels like that. Like this is very exciting. I'm really excited to see where
Thank
it
you
goes.
so much.
I
Thank you.
really enjoyed speaking with both of you today. Thank you for
Likewise.
driving down
It's
here
such an
and
honor to
taking
be
the time
here
to
with
speak
you.
with me. Oh, thank you. That's so
thank you for
sweet.
your time. And
Thank you, Jihan. Thank you, Jihan, for oh yeah, I need to try this
We
knafe,
love
you guys.
her.
I've been
yeah,
like
yeah,
staring at it.
oh yeah, bye. We're about to Knafeh and chat. Shine
guys,
kahwa
I
and
mean,
Knafeh.
شاي قهوة وكنافة. وين القهوة يا اختي؟
On the mic. أحسن
Tina
أحسن.
behind the scenes.
behind the scenes ما في
Amenti behind the
قهوة.
scenes.
I know.
يكشي.
مرة جاي بنجيب قهوة بنجيب لك كرسي جيهان.
قاعد على الفاضي ولا شاي ولا بطيخ.
صورينا حركات.
Oh, really quick, where can people find you guys if they want to purchase, if they want to follow along?
So people can find us on Instagram, through email, through if you Google
At
us.
Knafeh Queens.
I'm gonna say it like Farhana said on Dubai Bling. Google us.
Google her.
And,
This is really good.
yeah, you can
Sahtin,
find
sahtin.
all the exciting things that we do, and again, I don't have anybody that's like managing my Instagram account. So when
It's
I
all you.
respond,
That's
it's
you're
me.
talking to
And you
And-
are very responsive.
Yeah,
I mean, you responded to me right
I love
away.
interacting with all of everyone. So, and sometimes people are like, "Oh my gosh, you really responded to me," and so I leave them a voice note, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And
It's
it's
so
like,
funny.
Sweet Knafeh Queen.
it's crazy
Oh my
how
God, it's
like
my
a
mom.
simple
Oh my
thing, yeah, a 10-second message really can change. I tell people, smile more. You never know whose day you're gonna change.
Yeah.
Like just give back a little more than, because we all have the capacity, and believe it or not, that's gonna bring back to you. It's gonna fill your cup. Like everyone's always like, I gotta do me first. I gotta fill my cup. Well, that's how you fill your cup, by, bringing joy to others. Like it just automatically, like, God, I promise you, like there's nothing, that's my secret to joy and happiness, is giving back to others. Okay, and now it's Knafeh time.
I'm sorry, I didn't even wait. This is delicious. And I've had my share of Knafeh in my life, but this is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
course.
listening and tuning in, guys.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's
Happy
Day,
Mother's
guys.
Day,
Mother's
Dad. Love you, girl. Thank you for listening to another episode of Well Rooted. If you enjoyed today's episode and felt it brought you value, please subscribe, leave a comment, give us a like, and a review. This episode of Well Rooted has been brought to you by Gerard & Associates CPAs. With locations across all of Los Angeles, Gerard & Associates has been helping entrepreneurs and creatives make their dreams come true for over 2 decades. Go to gerardcpa.com to learn more. This is Haneen, and we are all well rooted.